ready.
They say they need to ban the podcast equipment and take y'all mics away. And oftentimes when I listen, shit, I agree.
For real talk.
Hey, man, just because we know people don't mean that they know things. A lot of us was in the same classes with some of these folks. That don't mean they were passing these classes.
All the time.
It ain't the world leaving you behind, man. It's your line of thinking. You think the science stopped evolving because you stopped learning, and it don't work that way. I couldn't imagine voting for somebody who thinks identifying with me is identifying with a felon. That's crazy as hell. I'm Mr. Spann, and I'm approving these messages. This is the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. Let's go. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Mr. Spann Official Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Spann. This is episode number 70 of this show. And tonight, I am not alone, man. I got a longtime friend, longtime collaborator here with me. I got my sister Cook from the Highly Inappropriate Podcast here with me. Say what's up to the people, fam.
What's up, fam?
Indeed. Like, first things first, Cook. I know the folks are wondering how you been doing. And I also want to know, how you been doing, sister? What's been going on with you?
Oh, man. It's been a night, but I'm still standing here. Working on some new content with a friend of mine, trying to pull some things together. Just trying to see what's really going to stick.
Yeah.
But for the most part, getting ready to graduate high school, filling out FAFSA. Like, I'm in the thick of it.
And we're talking about your baby girl right now, right?
Yeah,
indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. The circle of life doing this thing, man.
It's like I've been really domesticated these last 2 years.
Not Cook, domesticated.
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody has ever thought of Cook. If anybody who knows Cook, I don't know if anybody would describe Cook as domesticated. I'm just saying.
I'm not. But I mean, we saw my baby on bourbon.
Listen, and I was like, yo, because I wouldn't have had my baby on bourbon. I was like, oh, because here's what's funny, right? So I saw my sister in New Orleans, right? And like me and my wife, we go down to New Orleans for our anniversary and whatnot. And Cook was down there. She had a baby girl down there for the red dress run. And I was like, oh man, it was so nice to meet, Cook's daughter and stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, ooh, this baby gonna see some things.
I was prepping, walking through it. And it was so funny because they were not buying it. They weren't buying it. I was like, you sound like you'll be all right.
Okay, hold on a second, Cook. We're getting some commentary in the chat room. Right now, someone is saying the audio is messed up, and then like my volume is low compared to yours, and yours is loud and echoey.
Okay.
So let's see. I mean, we tried to like shout out to fucking like pre-production and shit, because here's what's weird is that we didn't hear any of this in the pre-production. Like, it sounds great on my end. I hear her clearly. She heard me clearly. But listen, EV Mux, man, as much money as I pay these people, I'm not happy. I am not happy. Because the last time I had anyone on, I had Rod and Karen over from the Black Guy Who Tips on, and there was some audio issues with that as well. And so, yeah, this is unacceptable. This is flat out fucking unacceptable. So let's see if we can do something here, because I don't like this. I don't like this one good, not one bit. So
Okay, how do I sound?
Well, like, to me, you sound fine. I'm more so worried about the what the audience is what they're experiencing. J4, how does she sound right now?
Because I turned on the echo cancellation.
Yeah. How does she sound right now, J4? Okay. He said
Still
it's
messed up.
Yeah, he says it's still messed up. Okay, let's see. Hey, Cook, do me a favor. Let's see if you can refresh your screen real quick.
Sure.
Okay. All right, but I appreciate you, brother, because yeah, like I said the last time we were doing this, our Reggie T says, yo, what up though? But he says it's also an echo. Is it an echo when it's just me by myself, or is it just an echo when you hear Cook when she's on here? Tell me what that is. Let me know what's happening there. Okay, Cook is now back. Let's see, what does it sound like now? Hey, Cook, let me ask you a question. Are you wearing headphones right now?
No.
Could you do me a favor and grab some headphones? Because there may be like a little bit of reverb coming from the like your speakers or something like that.
That's good. But hold on. I have to merge.
Yeah.
So
And while my sister goes and does that, first things first, man, let me remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here at the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast and let your voice be heard, okay? First of all, you can hit us up at our hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave us those voicemail messages. Those voicemail messages will get played here and responded to here live on the show. And if you're watching us via YouTube or Facebook, you can chop it up with us here while we're doing the show. That's area code 313-288-0485. So we really appreciate everybody who does it, right? Also, if you want to talk to me during the week, I am just about on all these platforms, but like I'm on some more than others, right? I am on Threads more often than not. If you wanted to really chop it up with your man Spann, I am on Threads. My name on there is Mr._Spann. I am also on Instagram. My name is the same there, Mr._Spann. But if you want to chop it up with me on Bluesky, my name on Bluesky is Mr. Spann. There is no underscore there, but mrspann.bsky.social. So if you want to chop it up with me there, I am also there. I do have a page on a fan base. It is Mr._Spann there, and I am also Mr._Spann on TikTok for as long as TikTok is available. You know, because they only gave that shit like 90 days. We don't know how long that shit gonna last, but yeah, I'm on there too. Right. So like there's a bunch of different ways you can get in touch with me over the course of the week and whatnot when we're not doing the shows. Right. And I appreciate everybody who reaches out. Also, subscribe to the show on Spotify, man. Not only on Spotify, but on Apple, on iTunes and or YouTube. Right. So we do have this show broadcasting live on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Like those videos on YouTube. Leave us comments on those videos on YouTube. If your comment is insightful and like in witty and everything else, we will highlight those comments here on the show, and we will respond to you guys right here on the show. Right. Also, we have polls on our Spotify channel. Right. So if you vote in our polls on Spotify, we will, of course, read those poll results here on the show. And also, if you leave us comments on our Spotify channel, we will also react to those comments as well. And for those of you who would like to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'll read those 5-star reviews. The 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live in the show. We really appreciate everybody who does that. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mrs. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety, including my sister from the Highly Inappropriate Podcast with Cook Simmons, right? So we appreciate everybody who does that. And for those of you who want to give us some money, though, and we do appreciate the bread, you can go to our store and cop yourself some merch. So it's not really like we just asking you to give us some money. You're getting something in return. You can get yourself a like a hat. You can get yourself a t-shirt. Get yourself a hoodie. Get yourself an athletic shirt. We no longer call it wife beaters. Wife beaters is dead, dog. We ain't calling it wife beaters no more. Athletic shirts. Get yourself an athletic shirt and coffee mugs and mouse pads and everything else. Little book carriers and stuff. We got some nice stuff over there, man. And we really appreciate everybody who patronizes us in that way. It really helps us to keep this ball rolling and pay the bills to keep the streaming shit going, despite the fact that EV Mux is really on some BS right now, and everything else when it comes to web hosting and whatnot. So we really appreciate everybody who contributes in that way. Thank you so much for your contribution, and thank you so much for your continued listenership over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. Right now, as my sister Cook kind of works through some of the like technical difficulties, one of the things we're gonna talk, like, I'm gonna tell y'all up top, man. If you saw the thumbnail to the show, if you saw the title to the show, we're talking about those folks who are experiencing a bit of buyer's remorse when it comes to Donald Trump and their vote for Donald Trump, or their tacit, some of their tacit support of Donald Trump, or their they're backhanded support of Donald Trump this year, right? In this past presidential election. Some folks are having a little bit of buyer's remorse when it comes to Donald Trump and some of the things that he's been advocating since he's become president of the United States. Now, part of the reason why I felt like I really wanted to like talk about this one particular issue, because ultimately this is the one particular issue that we're going to talk about tonight. But there are varying layers that goes into why we're talking about this tonight. And one of them, you're going to hear us talking about the Arab American community a lot tonight. And most of that has to do with the fact that I do live in Michigan. I do live in the Detroit, the Metro Detroit area. I am immersed in some ways with some of the attitudes and some of the sentiments that have been expressed over the course of the last year and a half in regards to, not only their political attitudes, but how they've expressed their political attitudes, right? And so it's been very interesting to me watching not just the Arab American community who would look at, a Donald Trump as a viable alternative to either Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, but also how they like are now trying not to become the next candidate or the next contestant on the Summer Jam screen after they had so much shit to say about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden leading up to the presidential election of 2024. And so, I hit my sister up because I'm like, yo, man, we talk about this quite often, like in some of our frustrations with, some of the political realities, and also some of the political missteps that we see some folks are making, right? And so I felt it would be apropos for me to have my sister on here to have this conversation, so that we can like kind of like listen. As much as I would want to, I had been holding my tongue on a lot of shit. Trust me, Spann has been holding his tongue on a lot of shit. I'm not doing that no more, right? I am done holding my tongue on some of this stuff, because it's like the gaslighting of a lot of this is getting on my fucking nerves. And so yeah, I don't see Cook back here yet, and she will be back soon. But we're gonna get the ball rolling, and my sister will join me when she has everything back up and rolling. But we're gonna start with let's see, we got this one thing here. We're gonna start here. So, as you guys know, or if you don't know, during the presidential election of 2024, Donald Trump won the city of Dearborn, Michigan. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with the city of Dearborn, Michigan has the highest concentration of Arab American Muslims in the United States, right? Arab American and Muslims in the United States, the highest concentration of anywhere in this nation is in Dearborn, Michigan. Okay, and Donald Trump won that particular city, flipping it from Joe Biden. I believe that's like shit. Joe Biden had won that particular city by almost 40 points. Donald Trump won that boy by like about 18 points. And the reason being, a lot of them were upset with the A lot of them were upset with the war in Gaza, right? A lot of them felt that, of course, like after what happened on October 7th, that Israel and their response to the terrorist attack that had happened to them on October 7th, that Israel had overreacted and that Israel was now, committed a genocide against their people, and that they were upset that the Biden administration, they saw the Biden administration as being complicit in the genocide of their people in Gaza. Okay. Now, one of the ways in which this became a political political reality here in America is during the primaries. And we talked about this during the primaries, where there was a contingent of voters, Arab Muslim voters, who were voting uncommitted during the primaries. And I believe they had like over 100,000 people here in the state of Michigan vote uncommitted when it came to the presidential primary here in Michigan. And that was their way. And we talked about this even when this was happening. That was their way to get the attention of the Biden administration that, hey, listen, we're not happy with this going on over here in Gaza. You need to pay attention to us. And this is our way of letting you know that we are not happy with your administration in regards to what's happening to our people over in Gaza, right? And like ultimately, like my attitude about that at the time, you can go back. I can't remember what fucking episode it was. Maybe I'll include it in the show notes. But you can go back in time. And I understood, like, yo, I get it. I get it. You want attention to be paid to this issue regarding your family, regarding your vote. I get it. I understand it. And in a primary season where the stakes weren't really that high, go ahead, do your thing, right? But ultimately, we have to understand that a vote for uncommitted, or a vote for a third party, or a vote for Donald Trump would not reap the results in which you think they will. Because ultimately, what you are doing would be unleashing a beast upon your people that you're not really ready for. Right? You may not, you may be unhappy with what's going on right now. You may be unhappy with that. Okay, hold on a second. I think Cook's back. Let's see what's going on with shit, and now she's gone. I don't know what happened there, but now she's gone. But no, but like I was saying though, like you may be unhappy with what's going on there. However, the alternative doesn't necessarily bode well, right? As a matter of fact, it could be existentially worse. And yet and still, a lot of the folks in the Arab American community were willing to face that, right? Now, the frustration that a lot of folks here in America would be like, yo, like, not even so much the frustration that a lot of people in America would feel, the frustration that like a lot of people within the Black community would feel, because a lot of Black creators, a lot of Black content creators, especially on the platform TikTok and everything else, they were like getting hit up with a lot of anti-Black content, anti Kamala Harris, anti Joe Biden sort of content. People were actually trying to make Black people feel as though we were in support of a genocide, despite the fact that we were empathetic to the fact that their folks over there in Gaza were being victims of a genocide. However, we still have to deal with issues right here in America. And I think my sister Cook is back. Let me pull her up and let's see what she sounds like. So chat room, let me know. What does it sound like?
Testing.
What does she sound like? I see my man Reggie T says, let's see, Jay Fool says, okay, so this was a little bit ago. Okay, let me know what she sounds like, folks, so we can get this ball rolling. Because I ain't the only one that's gonna be cooking tonight. Because trust me, I got a lot of shit to say.
We do.
Got a lot of shit to say. Okay, so we got they say it's still echoing and still messed up when you speak, Cook.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, I have on my headphones. I switched devices. So I did all that I could do.
Oh shit.
Oh.
Okay, let me try some things here. Let me try some things on my end to see if we can fix this. Because I would hate to not have my sister here tonight. We've been cooking the last 2 days. So I would
True.
let's see. Okay, let's do that, and then let's do. Okay, how about now?
How do I sound to you?
I mean, you sound fine to me, but like I said, it's about the
the
experience.
experience.
Yeah, because I hear you just fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and Jay Fool's got it. He says it's still messed up.
2 minutes ago.
Yeah. All right. Okay, let me do this here. I'm gonna have to change providers at this point because this can't continue to happen every time I want to have somebody on. Where like my guest, she got some squeak sounds happening too.
Oh, that's my dog. He's playing with his lamb chop.
Yeah, well, he's hearing the squeaks, but I think he's also hearing echoes and whatnot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just in my room. Here, move, Roscoe. Go play over there.
And shout out to the dog name being Roscoe though.
Oh yeah. He old nigga.
All right. Hey, Cook, can you do me a favor? Go to your settings real quick.
Okay.
Go to the audio settings.
Audio. In the browser?
Yeah.
Okay, settings. Site settings. All right, microphone.
Okay, what's your audio output?
That's not what it's asking me. Let me go into the app and check that app. All right, I'm switching to speak. How's this?
Hey, chat room, let me know how she sounds.
How's this? Is this better?
Well, yeah, the one that
Testing. Try, because this is the wired headset setting.
Okay.
And it's got the echo cancellation on, so.
You got headphones on though, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, you can turn the echo. They're saying it's still an echo. Fuck.
Oh. Well, I blame their speakers. They need to clean them out. It's not us. It's them.
No,
I know.
no. Like, cause this happened with Rod and Karen too, and like this is actually
Oh,
I think this is something that is with this
platform.
because I've never had to deal with this issue before, and this is the second time this has happened.
Okay. Yeah, but you sound good.
I mean,
Like I can hear you and everything.
yeah, we sound good to each other.
Right.
But to the folks who are watching, like they can't, like, they're getting echoes and everything else. Is still messed up.
Is there something you need to mute on your side?
For me to mute,
Yeah.
I don't have anything else going on outside of like my. I don't have.
It's all
everything.
The input is to the side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. You know, this is your call. I'm here, but if it's more important that the audience have a better experience.
Didn't you do something similar with the mixer last time? I had to read fuck it. So let me put my man Jay for. I had to totally fucking factory reset this entire goddamn mixer the last time, because the last time you guys were saying that I was sounding robotic and everything too. So I did a factory reset on my mixer, and like that's what got like it to not sound like that anymore. But right now, you guys are saying that Cook is sounding, there's an echo with her and everything else. So ultimately though, like this particular platform, like I said, I never had this issue until I transferred over to this. When I was on StreamYard, I wasn't dealing with this. This is a totally different company that I'm using. And I'm gonna, like, this was something that was supposed to have been corrected on their end, and apparently it hasn't been. And so they're gonna get a strongly worded email from your boy. But also, now they fucking with my flow, because I never really have to edit my goddamn shows, man. They fucking with my flow.
Listen, the editing.
We never have to edit this show, because whatever happens live happens on the show. You get what we do live. But this, like, I don't want this show to be about us like doing technical shit. This isn't what the people come to see. Like, this is what we like, shit.
Aww.
Fuck, man.
I was looking forward to this.
Listen, sister, I wanted you to be here so bad. I called you 2 nights ago. Or what was that? Last night? Last night.
Two nights.
Yeah. Like, yo, we got to chop this up. So
Period.
for us to be like dealing with this shit again, fuck you, Evie Muggs. Like, for real.
Bruh. Fuck everybody, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can use that. You know?
Use what?
Fuck everybody.
Oh,
I'm not in the mood.
We will.
I'm sorry, but it's like this has just been one hell of a year. And we're only like 37 days, 38 days in. I don't know how many days in. We've been here.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's too much, actually. So. But no, I'm going to go ahead and log off.
Come on, sister. I need you in the chat room at least.
Absolutely. I'm sitting here and watch.
Okay, I need you in the chat room at least, sis, because I know you got a lot to say. And I hate
I'm
this
rolling
happening,
up.
but come on. Not you rolling up.
Listen.
Not you rolling up.
We're consistent.
Indeed.
Yeah.
We about to get to the shit.
Okay.
But thank you, sis. Like, we gonna figure this shit out, because we can't have this shit going forward. But thank you so much.
No worries.
All right.
Take care.
Yes, indeed. All right. Yeah, man. I like, real talk, man, because me and my sister been talking quite a bit the last couple of days, man, about what we talking about tonight. And I hate that she will not, be able to give her point of view in a way in which I would love for her to be able to give her point of view tonight. But yeah, man, you know, this was something that has been on my mind the last few nights, the last few days, because of all of the things that are happening when it comes to Donald Trump being the president, and all of the people who thought it would be a good idea or not that bad of an idea for Donald Trump to be president again, and were willing to throw all of the rest of us under the bus in order to enable Donald Trump to be president again. And so I think the thing that's pissing me off the most is that a lot of these folks are not necessarily wanting their fucking turn on the Summer Jam screen. And they're gaslighting the rest of us and acting as though the rest of us are being unreasonable in terms of what it means to be, what it means for Donald Trump to be president. Because for those of you who are not familiar, Donald Trump won the presidency, but was it 92% of black women voted for Kamala Harris to be president? I want to say that, what was it? 80% of brothers also voted for Kamala Harris to be president. Now, the thing about that, though, I still feel like that number is quite low for the brothers. I feel like that number is too fucking low for the brothers. I will not be patting us on the back for us being 80%. Like, nah, it should probably be closer to what the sisters are. Real talk. You don't get to be out. To me, you don't get to be out here talking about, well, I'm part of the 80%, and y'all ain't gonna blame this on the brothers. Like, no. Because, like, yo, the sisters were out here in numbers. It was single digits when it came to the sisters in terms of who voted for Donald Trump and who didn't, right? Yo, it's 1 in 5 of us. If you got 5 homeboys, one of them niggas voted for fucking Donald Trump. Yeah, so like I don't want to hear that shit about us, being able to take a victory lap when it comes to that shit, right? But hold on a second. Let me do this here. What the hell is happening? I want to open with let's open a new tab. I'm trying to open some shit here. Okay. Got a lot going on, man. Tonight has been hectic. But no, man, we've been dealing with a lot of time, a lot of like gaslighting when in regards to the people who have been voting for Donald Trump, abstaining their votes from from Kamala Harris, who were voting for maybe a Jill Stein and what have you. And so one of the things that's been interesting is, like, as Donald Trump has become president, and he's reasserting his authority in the nation, a lot of those folks who thought, well, maybe Donald Trump won't be that bad, or maybe I'm not scared of another Donald Trump presidency, or maybe they are gaslighting me, or Donald Trump really wasn't that bad the last time, that those folks are now feeling a little bit of bias remorse in regards to Donald Trump becoming the presidency, becoming president again. But it is the blatant, it is the hand in hat shit. Or better yet, not even so much hand in hat. It is the shaming that a lot of these motherfuckers think that they're going to do to black people that is pissing me off, right? And we got an example. We got one example here of one motherfucker here in Michigan who was very much gung-ho about the idea of not allowing Kamala Harris to become president of the United States. Very gung-ho about it. He's singing a very different tone today. But just a very few short months ago, he had a very different motherfucking, he had a very different attitude about the entire thing. So let me go ahead and pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann. This dude he's like an Arab rapper, goes by the name Issa Mighty. Shout out to him, like, appropriating rap and shit like that, He don't want to listen to black folks in regards to, voting and shit like that. But he wants to use our motherfucking music and everything else, right? So Issa Mighty had this to say just a few short months ago in regards to Kamala Harris and the prospect of Kamala Harris becoming president of the United States just a few short months ago. Check this out.
Vote for if you want Donald Trump to win, say that. Bitch, I will vote for Satan if I have to. I don't care who we gotta deal with for the next 4 years, as long as you motherfuckers know that you fucked up and you guys are gonna deal with some type of repercussion for what happened for the last 10 months. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that bitch does not win and the Democrat Party loses the election. Fuck you guys.
Yeah. I'm gonna let that.
Remember, no one's free.
Hold on a second. I'm gonna let that play one more motherfucking time because I want y'all to listen and listen good. I'm gonna let that play one more fucking time.
Vote for if you want Donald Trump to win, say that. Bitch, I will vote for Satan if I have to.
So first of all, he called us bitch, and also he said that he would vote for Satan before he voted for Kamala Harris. How's that Satan vote working for you right now? Nigga! How's it working for you? I just kind of want to know that.
I don't care who we gotta deal with for the next 4 years, as long as you motherfuckers know that you fucked up and you guys are gonna deal with some type of repercussion for what happened for the last 10 months. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure that bitch does not win and the Democrat Party loses the election.
Kamala Harris is a bitch. Now I'm trying to figure out at some point. I'm trying to understand what the fuck did Kamala Harris even do for this little dude? Because I think he's only like around 24 fucking years old, right? So he's somebody who was born after the year 2000. This nigga still wet behind the motherfucking ears. Don't know a whole fucking lot. But what the fuck did Kamala Harris even do to your punk ass? For you to come out of your mouth, sit in a Jeep Grand Cherokee, because I know I drive one too. For you to be sitting in your motherfucking car to call the vice president of the United States a bitch and call us bitches because we support Kamala Harris. And you want to make sure that you send a message to Kamala Harris, right? You're going to do everything you can to make sure that bitch doesn't become president of the United States, right? Very interesting. Very interesting.
Fuck you guys.
Now, he said, fuck us, and sealed that shit with a fucking kiss. Fuck you guys. Right? Now, interestingly enough, we're going to hear from this young man again. We're going to hear from him again. Only this time, he's not as motherfucking, shall I say, disrespectful this time. He's not as disrespectful this time. And the reason why he's probably not as disrespectful is probably because Donald Trump decided he wanted to annex Gaza for like America himself. So we're going to come back to this young man, Issa Mighty. We're going to come back to him. And this is what he's now saying.
Remember, no one's free until we're all free.
This is what he's now saying on TikTok after having called Kamala Harris a bitch, called the rest of us bitches for supporting Kamala Harris. God damn it, pause. Shit. I don't know why TikTok is acting this way. But but let me pull this up so you guys can watch right along with your man Spann, right? So let me do this here. I'm gonna pull this up and we're gonna watch this exact same individual in the exact same Jeep Grand Cherokee all of a sudden call for unity after calling us bitches and claiming that Kamala Harris was a bitch. Check this out, y'all. Same little motherfucker. 25 seconds.
No one's free until we're all free. And we can't protect ourselves if we can't protect each other. This is the time for all the minorities, all the movements, all the working class to come together and really build power and really fight against the fascism that's been here, but finally popping its head out and being loud and proud about it. And unless we do something, really come together, it's gonna get real bad.
Yeah. We tried to tell you that shit back in motherfucking November.
Take a big step back and literally fuck your own face.
Mm-hmm. Tried to tell you that shit back in November. I'm sorry.
Think of how stupid the average person is, and then realize half of them are stupider than that.
I mean, y'all really wasn't trying to listen to us and shit. Like,
what the fuck, y'all? God damn! God damn! God damn!
What?
Fuck!
Y'all wasn't listening. Like,
that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
So understand something right now. Understand something. Black people, especially, try to warn everyone, whether that be the Arab community who were upset about the genocide in Gaza, whether that be the Venezuelan community that, like, for whatever reason decided they were going to vote. I don't even know why they fucking voted for Donald Trump. I'm really trying to figure that shit out. I'm flabbergasted on. My flabbers have been gasted on that one. Okay. Whether it be any like Hispanic community, especially the Hispanic community, right? I'm really trying to, the Hispanic community and the Muslim community in America, I'm trying to understand your logic behind getting behind Donald Trump, considering the incendiary ways in which Donald Trump has been addressing your communities from the moment he became a political figure. From the exact moment he became a political figure. I'm trying to fucking understand how y'all thought y'all were different this time. How did y'all think y'all were fucking different this time? When it came to Donald Trump running for president back in 2015, and then he started talking about Mexicans. Donald Trump came down that escalator and said they're bringing drugs and they're bringing crime, and some of them, and they're rapists, and some of them, I assume, are good people, right? He becomes president in 2017. And one of the very first fucking things he does is implement a Muslim ban. So even your people who were in Palestine, who would maybe be coming to America for some sort of political asylum, maybe they have some family members here and they want to be closer to family, he was implementing a ban on your people because of how they chose to worship God. And somehow, some way, y'all thought that that would be a viable fucking alternative to Kamala Harris? Like, I don't really quite, I don't fucking understand it.
Oh,
man.
that was different.
Yeah, I guess that was different. But you see how this young man's tone changed, right? He went from calling Kamala Harris a bitch to calling us a bitch to, like, suddenly he wants unity now. Let's listen to this again. Hold on. Let's listen.
Remember, no one's free until we're all free, and we can't.
No one's free until we're all free. Ain't that what? That sounds like some shit you done heard from the black activists and shit.
Protect ourselves if we can't protect each other.
We can't protect each other. We can't protect ourselves. Like, come on, man. Like, come on. That all sounds like shit you heard from black folk. That sound like shit you heard from black people.
This is the time for all the minorities, all the movements, all the working class to come together and really build power and really fight against the fascism that's been here, but finally popping its head out and being loud and proud about it.
Nigga, it's been loud and proud.
Something really come together.
It's been loud and proud since 2015. It's been loud and proud. Like, here's the world, right? My man is 24. He was 14 years old when Donald Trump ran for fucking president the first time. He don't fucking know no better. That's the sad part. That's the sad part, and that's a sad reality for a lot of this shit. He was 14 years old when Donald Trump came down that goddamn escalator. He don't know what the fuck he's talking about. Unfortunately, some of the people who are older than him and should be guiding him also don't know what the fuck they talking about, because they also thought that they knew better than the black folks who were telling them, hey, this ain't what y'all want to do. Y'all might want to pull back on this. This ain't the move. Y'all tripping right now. Let's get our heads together and come up with a motherfucking plan that doesn't include Donald Trump becoming president of the United States again. Right? So you got that going on, man, where like he decided that he will vote for the devil, Satan, and even over Kamala Harris. And he wants us to reach back for solidarity now that his community is dealing with some shit. Again, the time for us to come together would have been back in November. Black folks are trying to tell y'all the time to come together was back in fucking November. And trust me, I didn't want to do an episode like this. It is the gaslighting of all of these other fucking people who act as though black people are supposed to be their fucking mules in regards to us protesting. Why aren't any protests going on? Oh, I don't know. Because black people ain't out there protesting no more. Because they like, yo, we tried to tell you motherfuckers and y'all didn't listen. Now y'all want black people to go out here and be on the front lines again, despite the fact that y'all don't listen to black people. Right? Y'all are worried about the Democratic Party not being as forceful in his pushback against the Trump administration. Forgetting the fact that y'all didn't give them the fucking numbers to have an effective pushback to begin with. What the fuck? What the fuck? This shit is not rocket science. Now, you also, because I've been coming across this too, right? I made a post on Threads. Kind of went viral on Threads. For, whatever, viral means on Threads or whatever, right? But it kind of went viral on Threads. And I'm going to read from this post that I posted on Threads. Because I've been getting a lot of fucking reaction from this particular post. But one of the things is going to bring me to another point, though. Let me see if I can. Here it is, right? I posted this 2 days ago on Threads. And what I posted was, it's weird as hell to watch Palestinian protesters try to reframe their role in the current situation America finds itself in. Y'all were protesting Kamala Harris, interrupting rallies, selling T-shirts, telling other people in your community that if they voted for Kamala Harris, they wouldn't be welcome in the community. But now, y'all don't want the credit y'all are due for your role in her loss. Arsonists posing as firefighters, man. That's how I feel about it. So I've been getting, most of the commentary that I've been getting have been largely positive, and I will say that most of the but like other folk who have been coming at me sideways, though, by and large, are white folk coming at me sideways, telling me that I am complicit in a genocide, that I am cheering on the fact that Palestinian children are being killed in Gaza, and that I supported an administration that was for the killing of children in Gaza. And largely the people who were coming at my neck, white folks, right? Let me tell y'all something, man. And I'm gonna need you motherfuckers to hear me clearly. I am a black man in America. And when I go to the voting booth, I don't have the luxury of voting for one issue. I wish I could go to the voting booth and say, hey, I want to be able to keep my guns, because I also am I'm a Second Amendment proponent. Think about what that means to a lot of folks on the left. I'm largely, I guess I would be considered left wing, But think about what that would mean to a lot of folks on the left who thinks that AR-15 should be banned. I own an AR-15. I own an AR-15 style 12 gauge shotgun. I own an MP5. I own a bunch of different firearms that a lot of people on the left doesn't think I should be able to get. Right? So y'all coming at me saying that, like, y'all coming at me as though I am one of those folks who, like, totally adheres to everything left wing. I am not. I am an individual. I have no fucking freedom to vote on one issue. I try to vote conscientiously. I try to vote for the bodily autonomy of my wife, of my daughter, of my aunts, of my nieces, of my cousins. I try to vote for their bodily autonomy. I try to vote for all of our ability to be able to go to a polling place and vote freely. I try to vote for the protection of undocumented folk here in America who contribute a lot to the economic engine that is the American, mission and like dream and all of that other shit. Whatever the fuck that means. I want them to be able to come here and gain some level of legitimacy, gain some level of citizenship. I don't want these folks cowering and not being able to send their fucking kids to school because they're worried about the government coming after their parents and sending them back to a country that wants to execute them, or they're leaving for political persecution, whatever. I vote for that. I also vote for my kids and people who are like, not even just my kids, your kids' ability to learn in school this nation's history, the true history of this fucking nation. I vote for that. So I'll be damned if I'm going to be lectured to by some white motherfuckers who look at any of this shit like it's a goddamn mental fucking exercise. Fuck you. From the bottom of my balls, fuck you. With all due disrespect, fuck you for coming at me because I am for coming at me like I want there to be a genocide in Gaza. That's not what I want. What I want is for there to be a ceasefire there. What I want is for there to be people over there to be able to live in peace and harmony. I'm 45. I'll be 45 years old this year. All my life, I've listened to rappers in some form or fashion as almost a tagline at this point. Say, hey, peace in the Middle East. We've been cheering for that since I was a kid, man. Since I was a kid. So it's not as though we don't have sympathy for what's happening over there in Gaza. It's not that. Black people in America understand. Black people in America understand. We can't be any good to anybody over there if we aren't any good over here. And I would apply that same principle to life, to going to work. Oftentimes, like my wife, my wife tends to she's a lot better about this than I am. If I'm not feeling good, if I feel like I'm sick, or if I feel like I am not at my best, in any sort of, form of action, I'm no good to anybody at work. So I'm not going to take my ass to work if I'm no good. Because even if and my wife, tends to believe that 70% of me is better than 0% of me. So if I'm 70%, I'm good. And we have different, different views on that. She'll go to work, not feeling good, and I'm like, nah, I ain't going. Right? And so my thing is, if we can't be good here, I can't be good. I can't advocate for you strongly over there if we're not good here. And so to watch people think that Black people in America have the freedom to kind of like set their own shit aside for some folks in a far off land. And that's not to say that these people are unworthy of empathy and sympathy and a level of assistance, right? It's not to say that. But we got issues that we're dealing with right here at home. We're dealing with like a lot of Black people, when we go into the voting booth, we're not voting for just ourselves. I'm not gay. I'm not trans. But you don't think I'm not voting? I'm not thinking about those folks when I go into the voting booth and worrying about how they're going to be treated based upon some bullshit legislation to make them like second-class citizens going forward. I have to think about that. I'm not a woman. But you don't think that I don't care about my daughter, my wife, my aunts, my sisters, my cousins having to deal with medical issues that I have no fucking connection to? But them not being able to receive the medical care that they should get because they're a woman? I got to think about that. I don't have the luxury of acting as if all of this is a goddamn thought experiment. And unfortunately, far too many folk, far too many of our Palestinian brothers and sisters wanted us to drop all of our shit on behalf of what was going on halfway across the world. And then to try to make us feel as though we were complicit in the killing of men, women, and children half across the world, when that's not what we wanted. Now, the reason why I'm saying it this way, and I'm saying it this way right now, is because the rhetoric that was coming out of some of these communities was hurtful, was prosecutorial almost, even to the point where they thought that any vote for Kamala Harris was a vote for genocide. Now, here's the other part that I think is really, really, really fucked up. Is that they thought they were punishing Kamala Harris. A lot of folks in that community, a lot of folks in the Arab community, especially the Arab community here in Detroit, a lot of those folks thought that they were punishing Kamala Harris. But the question that I would ask those people today, the same question I was asking back then when they were doing the uncommitted voting and whatnot, was, what message do you think you were sending to those folks in Gaza?
Who are these niggas? We need to stay away from these niggas.
What was the message you thought you were sending to them? Right? So we're going to listen to some of the folk who thought that they were punishing Kamala Harris because Kamala Harris didn't exactly articulate her, she didn't necessarily articulate her support of their community in a way in which they thought it was sufficient. Okay? I'll put it that way. But let me pull this video up so you guys can watch Right On with your man Spann, because one of the things, this is another thing I took offense to. Another thing I took very much offense to. Let me do this here. Pull this up. Boom. Okay. So, check this out, y'all.
All right, turning now to the race for the White House. With just over 50 days until the election, Michigan continues to be a hot spot. Tonight, vice presidential candidate Tim Walz is talking to voters in Grand Rapids.
And earlier today, we learned that former President Trump is coming back to the Mitten State next Tuesday to hold a town hall in Flint. Now, all of this is happening as the Abandon Biden campaign is officially relaunching as the Abandon Harris campaign. This after they say their demand for a ceasefire in Gaza has been continuously ignored.
7 News Detroit reporter Sarah Michaels is in Dearborn talking to members of the campaign about who they plan to vote for.
A few months ago, these signs read Abandon Biden. Now, Abandon Harris. Sure, the candidate name is different, but the threat to the Democratic Party is still very much the same.
So here's another thing too, right? Kamala Harris becomes the nominee, or becomes the candidate after Joe Biden's debate performance against Donald Trump. And I can understand you feeling a way about Joe Biden and Joe Biden's presidency in regards to whether or not you could vote for him for president again or not, right? What I cannot understand is you're seeking to hold Kamala Harris responsible for the actions of the president of the United States. That part I will never be able to understand. You will not be able to make me understand that, because I understand how this fucking government works. Because I understand how this government works, you will not be able to make me understand that. I have never in the history of this nation seen, heard, thought, inferred that the vice president is responsible for the actions of the president. Do y'all think that George W. Bush didn't win the presidency because of Dan Quayle? I mean, like, did that ever cross your mind?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
Wait. I got another one. Have y'all ever heard Dick Cheney being responsible for the actions and losing an election because of the actions of fucking George W. Bush? Have you ever heard that? Anybody ever heard that? Now, the interesting thing about that is, like, Dick Cheney was actually, many people thought that Dick Cheney was actually the motherfucking president in puppet, right? That he was the actual fucking president. He was controlling that shit. But we never once heard him being held responsible for George W. Bush's actions. How about the first time Donald Trump was president? Did any of y'all actually hold Mike Pence accountable for whatever the fuck it was that Donald Trump did? Like, has it ever happened? Like, nigga! It's never happened because we always understood that the buck stops at the president. The buck stops at the president. Ultimately, the final word, or whatever the United States policy, foreign policy, and everything else, that shit ends. It stops at the president. The president is ultimately responsible. And so, for Kamala Harris, before she's even really the nominee, really, these folks are already talking about Abandon Harris. She's not the fucking president, but y'all want to hold her responsible for decisions that were not hers. So we're going to listen to this dude talk this shit.
To ensure a defeat happens, not because we like the despicable candidate who waits in the corridor, but for a punishment to happen.
Punishment. That's what...
For punishment to happen. Hold on. I'm going to play this again. Let's listen to this motherfucker one more time.
Candidate who waits in the corridor, but for a punishment to happen.
Punishment. That's what these leading members of the abandoned Biden campaign tell me their mission is still about. Almost a year since the group was founded in October of 2023, they gathered here at the Henry Ford Centennial Library in Dearborn Thursday to now relaunch their campaign as the Abandon Harris campaign. Why? Co-founder Hassan Abdel Salam says Vice President Kamala Harris has now ignored their demand for a call for a ceasefire in Gaza, just as President Biden did.
Is that something that they really ignored, though? I mean, let's talk about the reality of the situation. We know that a ceasefire was agreed upon after the election, right? We also know that the ceasefire that was agreed upon was also the same deal that had been presented to Israel back in May of 2024. Now, y'all have heard me on this microphone the last couple of months, or last couple of weeks at least, where I talked about how this reeks of, it is eerily similar to Richard Nixon thwarting peace talks in Vietnam, during the 1968 election to keep them from coming to some sort of agreement during the in 1968, so that he can therefore use that as a cudgel against the current administration at the time. I want to say Lyndon Baines Johnson, to use that as a cudgel to propel himself to the White House. We saw that again in 1980 with Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter, where there was the Iran-Contra, with the not Iran-Contra, but the Iranian, there were Americans being held hostage by Iranians, right? And how there was, how conveniently the Iranian hostages, or the American hostages being held by Iranians, were let go soon after the American election in 1980. Because the Iranians at the time had an issue, or weren't necessarily friendly to one Jimmy Carter, right? And then suddenly, after the election in 2024, we have a deal on a ceasefire in Gaza after the American election. And not only that, Kamala Harris is on the campaign trail constantly talking about how their administration had been working day and night to secure ceasefire in Gaza. I want y'all to tell me, when was the last time Donald Trump ever talked about a ceasefire in Gaza? Don't worry, I'll wait. I'll fucking wait. Because you did not fucking hear that shit coming from him. Donald Trump didn't give a fuck about Gaza. Didn't give a single solitary fuck about that place. And yet, so many people within the Arab American community were going to hold Kamala Harris responsible for the decisions of someone else. So much so that they were willing to accept the possibility of a president who had already expressed anti-Muslim sentiment. Make that make sense, man. Really, make that make sense. Because it doesn't. It really doesn't. And it got to a point, man, where, wait, you know what? Before I continue, let me let this video play some more.
The media took our message, and the campaign said no. No comment, no speaking.
The campaign is asking their primarily Muslim American members to abandon Harris by not voting for her in November. But that does not mean that they support former President Donald Trump. If you won't vote for Harris and if you won't vote for Trump, will you vote third party or will you not vote at all?
We must vote. I'm gonna vote for a third-party candidate.
According to an analysis by Mgage,
which is probably the dumbest shit that they could have did. Vote for a third-party candidate, right? Now, The reason why I say it's probably one of the dumbest things that they could have did is because the third party candidate that they voted for, Jill Stein, is a political cicada. Jill Stein shows up every 4 years, makes a lot of noise, then disappears into the next presidential election. That's what she does. She will exploit your gripes, act as though she really gives a fuck about your gripes, siphon votes off of the Democratic candidate more often than not, and then disappear, right? Now, one of the other things about this that that really pisses me off is that apathy has been repackaged and resold on the left. It's being repackaged and resold too often for us to keep falling for the shit, right? Back in 2016, it was, but Hillary's emails, right? Another way for apathy to set in is Bernie Sanders was screwed by the Democratic Party. And I always wonder about that one because it wasn't as if like the Democratic Party had actual control over who the people who voted in those primaries voted. And Bernie Sanders lost those primaries. And he damn sure didn't perform that well in the South because he didn't campaign in the fucking South. But that is another way that apathy rises up, right? Another way that apathy rises up on the left is to proclaim that both sides are the same. And that's usually a position held by people who aren't necessarily that politically smart. Let's just keep it a buck. They're not that politically smart. They like to appear that way, right? They like to appear as if they're above it all. Both parties are the same. You're not really getting much different from the Democratic Party than you are from the Republican Party. I want y'all to look at the last 2-3 weeks of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and tell me how much of those shits look the same to you. Nigga! How much of those two things look the same to you? Anybody who tells you that there's one party or that both parties are the same don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Can you imagine Kamala Harris coming on the campaign trail telling you that she wants to get rid of the Department of Education? Could you imagine Kamala Harris allowing some billionaire who's not even from this country, he's from South Africa, and gives him unfettered access to your social security number? Can you imagine her doing that?
I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
Yeah, Elon Musk is leaving with something. It might not necessarily be something y'all want him to have, but he leaving with something. He ain't from around the fucking way. So when people talk that shit, understand these people do not know what the fuck they're talking about. They don't know. But they call, what happened here with these particular folks, they thought that they were punishing Kamala Harris. And I'm here to disabuse y'all of this notion right now. Kamala Harris is going to be okay. Kamala Harris was a well-compensated woman. She's a well-accomplished woman. She is going back to being a private citizen. She is someone who has made a lot of money over her career. Her husband is a high-powered attorney. They're going to be all right. You were not punishing Kamala Harris. But what you were doing was punishing not just your community, but people who were trying to build a coalition to uplift your community as well. And because you didn't get your one issue addressed in the way off top that you wanted it, everybody else should have to suffer because of you. and this one issue. Everybody else can't vote on one fucking issue. We don't have the luxury of that. And some of y'all are being, the batteries are being put in your back from some of these white liberals. Let's make it plain. Some of these white liberals to whom all of this shit is just a thought experiment. Ultimately, they gonna be all right. They gonna be okay. But are you? Are you gonna be okay? Right? We got a comment here in the chat room, man. My man Reddy T says they want us to be on the front line so we get arrested and knocked upside the head. Yeah, that's ultimately like when it comes to the protesting thing, right? They want us to be out there leading the charge when it comes to the marches and everything. Like, hey, listen, hold on. Why it gotta be us? Your community is being marginalized right now. You should be on the front lines of that. Why y'all gotta wait for the black folks to come up and say this is wrong? But the weird thing about that also is that y'all want us to be on the front lines protesting about the genocide. Y'all want us to be on the on the front lines in regards to income inequality and everything else. But y'all don't want to listen to us when it comes to who we should be voting for in order for us to even have a voice in the government. That's a bridge too far for some of y'all. Make it make sense, man. Make it make sense. So we got that going on. Now, another thing. So as we talk about, some of the ideas that like the people who were here in Michigan and in America, a lot of the Arab American community, how they voted, and they were voting, because a lot of them lost family members. And again, I want to make myself clear here. I am sorry. I am empathetic. I am mournful for the folks who are dealing with the loss of their loved ones. You are not listening to, nor are you dealing with a monster who does not give a fuck about any of this. That's not what you're getting here. What you're getting here is someone who can't quite understand how they didn't understand that by cutting our legs off here, cuts our legs off on our ability to help outside of here. Right? How can I help your people over there if I don't have agency here? And as much as a lot of the folk in the Arab American community would have thought they were being politically savvy, they were being, they were being conscientious objectors in their vote. How did your vote against Kamala Harris actually move your motherfucking issue forward? When you know that the alternative doesn't give a fuck about what happens to your people over there. How does that move your issue forward? And then when it comes to black people, come at black folks as though we are complicit in the loss of your loved ones. How do you contort yourself into thinking that's what's up? That's what black people in America want. How do you even come to that? I'm sincerely asking. How do you even come to that? Right? So part of the reason why we're even talking about this, man, has to do with the fact that like Donald Trump talked about how the United States was going to take over Gaza. Israel is going to allow the United States to take over Gaza. And they was going to move those folks in Gaza straight up on one up out of there, bitch. Now, of course, Donald Trump has received some pushback in regards to this. And so he's trying to modify his language in regards to this. So let's see. I think I have video in regards to this. So we're going to pull this video up and see what exactly Donald Trump is saying about this. Let me pull this up so you guys can watch right on with your man Spann. Hold on just a second here while I pull this up. Here we go. As it loads up.
You go get him, Tiger.
What? What's happening here?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know what the hell's happening. Go ahead and mute this song or whatever. All right, here we go.
President Trump is walking back his own suggestion that U.S. troops could play a role in his controversial plan for Gaza. I'm Scripps News correspondent Dee O'Reilly in Tampa, and you're watching Morning Rush. In a post to his Truth Social account this morning, the president gave more details about his vision for Gaza, writing, quote, "The Gaza Strip would be turned over to the United States by Israel at the conclusion of fighting. The Palestinians, people like Chuck Schumer, would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities with new and modern homes in the region." Now, we do want to mention that Schumer, a Democrat, is Jewish, not Palestinian. The president went on to add that, quote, "No soldiers by the U.S. would be required. Stability for the region would reign." But that is not stopping leaders from around the world from condemning President Trump's plan. Top officials in Spain, Brazil, and Colombia are speaking out against it, including Colombian President Gustavo Petro. Petro, who recently clashed with President Trump over flights of deported migrants to his country, is calling what's happening in Gaza, quote, genocide. He argues that Trump's actions will, quote, ignite the worst war. Top Israeli officials, however, are fully behind Trump's vision for Gaza. In an interview with Sean Hannity on Wednesday night, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the plan remarkable and said it should, quote, be examined, pursued, and done. Defense Minister Israel Katz is praising the plan as courageous, saying he's ordered the Israeli military to begin preparing a plan for removing Palestinians from the area.
So the Israeli government is already talking about removing Palestinians from the area. Right? Removing them from the area. And so when you have voters of the Arab American community who are protesting the genocide that is happening in Gaza, and like as a result, we end up with this orange menace as president of the United States to dictate United States foreign policy going forward. You kind of wonder, do you motherfuckers have some screws loose? Were y'all not listening to this motherfucker over the course of the last 8 to 10 years? Did y'all think that he was bluffing in his rhetoric when it regarded your community? And I'm talking about people like Rashida Tlaib, fucking the mayor of Hamtramck, Michigan, the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan. Like, what were y'all like? What made y'all think that this dude, this human excrement, this 6 foot tall human piece of shit, what made y'all think that he actually gave a damn about anything regarding your community, especially after he's been president before? He's been president before. Now, of the known entities in the election cycle, y'all knew what Donald Trump represented. He had been president before. Y'all didn't like that shit. Y'all knew what Joe Biden was, or had some clue of who Joe Biden was, right? Y'all might not necessarily agree with Joe Biden on how he handled shit, but y'all knew who he was, right? Those were the two known entities. y'all did not know who Kamala Harris was. And the mistake that y'all made was that y'all did not give Kamala Harris a chance to be who she wanted to be. Y'all wanted Kamala Harris. Here's the thing. A lot of the Arab American community, a lot of the Palestinian protesters across the United States, what they wanted Kamala Harris to do was to essentially have a complete break from Joe Biden in regards to this one issue. Y'all wanted her to have a complete break. And Kamala Harris, being, the loyal person that she is, would not do that. But also understand this here. Again, we talked about the ceasefire that was agreed upon after the election was essentially the same deal that had been offered back in July. Y'all wanted her to undercut her boss in a situation where he's negotiating a ceasefire for you. They were negotiating a ceasefire for you. And some of y'all gave Donald Trump the credit for the ceasefire negotiated by Joe Biden. The reason that there's a ceasefire right now is a result of Joe Biden's diplomacy and whatnot. Some of you guys would like to tell yourselves that it was because Donald Trump. Tell yourselves whatever it is you wish. However, the deal that came forward in regards to a ceasefire happened under Joe Biden. It was the same deal that happened that was offered months before. And yet somehow, some way, this black woman is being held to account for the actions of some white man. Make that make sense. So when black people are telling y'all, yeah, we're going to sit this one out. Y'all got it. Y'all didn't want to listen to black people. Y'all for damn sure didn't want to listen to black women in regards to what could happen to your community and what have you. Y'all did not want a black woman to be in charge. Y'all wanted to punish Kamala Harris. This is the rhetoric coming out of your community. Y'all wanted to punish the Harris campaign, despite the fact that the final decisions coming out of the Biden administration are Joe Biden's and Joe Biden's alone. Right? Now, one of the things I always wondered about this was how do the Gazans feel? Right? We talk about how the Palestinian protesters and everything else feel here in America. They're here, they're safe. It's very easy for you to have, I'm sorry, because I don't want to make light. It's easy for us far away to try to position ourselves as being morally superior and everything else. How about how the people on the ground feel about what's happening or what happened in Gaza and what the people in Gaza felt they wanted in terms of the United States presidential election? And so I went and I found a couple sources. One that leans right, one that leans left, right? I'm going to read from the right-wing leaning publication here first. And this we get from the Jerusalem Post. Okay? It says that the people in Gaza wanted anyone over Trump, and they lend support to Kamala Harris for fear of a pro-Israel Trump presidency. Gazans are hoping that Kamala Harris becomes the next president of the United States due to fears of what another 4 years with Donald Trump in the position could mean for Palestinian statehood and humanitarian aid to the enclave, according to the interviews published on Saturday by Al Monitor. Harris's notable absence from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's congressional address last week was interpreted by some in Gaza and in the West as a political statement. When meeting with Netanyahu, Harris had strongly advocated for an end to the war, declared in a televised statement, "We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent." Mohammed Abu Shark, a displaced Palestinian from northern Gaza, said that Palestinians felt helpless about the way members of the United States Congress treated Netanyahu during his recent speech and lost hope for a radical change in the United States pro-Israel policy. Netanyahu's speech was met with applause despite protests raging outside where American flags were burnt and property vandalized. Abu Shark claimed, "For us, the applause sounded like bombs falling on the heads of Palestinian children. I think Harris will have a better vision for the Palestinians, especially with regard to human rights, such as increasing aid and Gaza's reconstruction," he said. Complaints over pro-Israel U.S. leadership. Abdul Rahim Al-Hayek from Gaza City told the source that he was pessimistic about a change to U.S. foreign policy. "I've lived through 14 U.S. presidents, all of whom were blatantly pro-Israel, with the exception of President Bill Clinton, who visited Gaza in 1988 to push the peace process forward. Despite his self-reported pessimism, he said, "I prefer anyone over Trump, who recognized our future capital, Jerusalem, as the capital of Israel." Now, mind you, when Donald Trump was the president of the United States the last time, he moved the U.S. Embassy from Bethlehem to Jerusalem to large-scale protest over the move, right? This is what the right-wing leaning publication, the Jerusalem Post, is saying about how the Gazans felt. Okay? This is what they're saying, the right-wing leaning Jerusalem Post. Now, we will go to Al Monitor, which is a left-leaning, not even so much like kind of left-center publication, also from the region. And it says that Palestinians in Gaza warm to Harris, and they prefer anyone over Trump. Palestinians in Gaza are closely following the latest developments in the U.S. presidential election scheduled for November 5th, with Vice President Kamala Harris, the presumptive Democratic nominee, appearing to emerge as their preferred candidate. The Palestinians' preference for Harris over the Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, can be explained by her positions and statements critical to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's conduct of the war in Gaza, as well as actions taken by Trump while in the White House from 2017 to 2021. Despite the wide support Israel has received from the United States, often across party lines, Palestinians are hoping that the next president will work to halt Israeli military operations in Gaza, now ongoing for more than 9 months. After meeting with Netanyahu at the White House on Thursday, Harris called for a permanent end to hostilities in Gaza. "It is time for this war to end," Harris said in a televised statement. "We cannot allow ourselves to become numb to the suffering, and I will not be silent." Netanyahu was in Washington this week for a visit overshadowed by the war in Gaza, during which Israeli attacks have killed more than 39,000 Palestinians, according to the Gaza Health Ministry, and created a dire humanitarian crisis. The Israeli premier delivered a fiery speech to Congress on Wednesday, in which he once again vowed to achieve total victory over Hamas, which launched the current war on October 7th with its assault into southern Israel, killing some 1,200 people and taking 250 people hostage. U.S. lawmakers in attendance gave Netanyahu repeated rounds of applause and standing ovations, while roughly half of all Democratic lawmakers boycotted the session, including some in the party leadership. Palestinians took note of Harris's absence from the session, which her campaign said was due to a previously scheduled event. She met with Netanyahu the following day at the White House. So word coming out of Gaza, is that they would have preferred Kamala Harris over a Donald Trump. And so I will reject any person on social media trying to portray any of us who voted for Kamala Harris, who implored the rest of y'all to vote for Kamala Harris, to avoid not only a genocide going forward, but an ethnic cleansing going forward, because Donald Trump sees the Gaza Strip as a resort to be developed. That's how he sees this entire fucking thing, as a resort to be developed. So, like I said, man, I am sick of being lectured to by some of those on the left about a vote for Kamala Harris and conflating the vote for Kamala Harris as being the same as voting for Donald Trump, when anybody who's got a fucking brainstem should know that would probably be the absolute.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. No wonder you get D's and everything.
Yeah, man. I am of what here's a couple things. One, before I get up out of here, because I've been running my mouth for a long time. But one of the things I want y'all to disabuse yourselves of the notion of, anytime someone comes up to you and they will tell you that, the Palestinian vote or the Palestinian non-vote, or the people who voted for Jill Stein, especially like a state here in Michigan, the people who voted for Jill Stein and the people who voted for Donald Trump, in Dearborn, would not have won Kamala Harris this state. And to those of you who would say some silly shit like that, I want to say, fuck you from the very bottom of my soul. And the reason why I would say that is because you act as though that one community voted that one way. You act as though people were not influenced in a certain way. People were not empathetic to the Muslim and Arab American community here in Michigan, here in Dearborn, or what have you, right? This isn't something that was concentrated just here in Michigan. This is a nationwide thing. Now, if you take the people who decided they were not going to vote based on this issue, the people who decided they were going to vote third party based on this issue, or the people who decided they were going to vote for Donald Trump based on this one issue, trust and believe me, the dynamics of this election changes exponentially. So if you think that by saying, "Oh, they don't have the numbers, that community is much too small to make a difference," well, damn it, they for damn sure were trying to make sure that they made a difference. You can't be out here advocating for one way, right? Here's the thing. You can't be advocating for things to turn out one way. It happens the way that you advocated for. You advocated for it to happen, and then when it happens that way, suddenly you want everybody else to act as though you didn't play a part in that, right? Let's be fucking honest about this shit. Some of you motherfuckers are having buyer's remorse. Some of these poor whites having buyer's remorse. When it came down to that freeze on government funding of shit, the especially when it came down to like welfare, like food stamps and things of that nature. Many of y'all think y'all have an idea in your mind that is black people that are the face of government assistance. I'm here to disabuse you of that notion. There's a lot of white folks who get their food from SNAP or WIC that are receiving some level of public assistance, whether that be SNAP, whether that be WIC, whether that be Section 8. In fact, the large majority of the people who are getting that level of assistance do not look like me. They look like, Trump without the spray tan shit. That's what they look like. But far too many of those folks voted against their own interests as well. So y'all not alone. Arab Americans, you are not alone. Hispanic Americans, you are not alone. A lot of y'all voted against your own fucking interests. A lot of y'all thought that y'all knew more than the black people who have been the fucking stepstone in this nation from the very fucking beginning. Every right that y'all have, you can thank black people for it. We are the blueprint on making America live up to its principles as much as we can. This nation wasn't built for us. This nation wasn't even built for poor white folk. This nation was built for rich white motherfuckers. Rich white landowners, to be specific. They convinced poor white folk that, hey, you at least white, you better than these black folks over here. You need to be over here with us, despite the fact that we're going to exploit your ass too. One of America's greatest fucking exports has been its ability to discriminate against other folk. The Nazis modeled their entire fucking persecution of the Jews after Jim Crow. Same thing with apartheid in South Africa. Y'all come here thinking that black people don't know shit. We just some lazy motherfuckers. Y'all come over here and y'all, like even the culture. Some of y'all y'all taking our culture when it's cool. Y'all want our motherfucking rhythm. Y'all don't want our blues as it's staying. Even that young motherfucker who was talking about Kamala Harris being a bitch and that he would vote for Satan before he voted for Kamala Harris is wearing our goddamn culture like it's a goddamn costume. Rap comes from us, bitch. You're wearing black swag as a costume, bitch. Black Detroit swag, to be specific. I say all this to say, man. I'm gonna need those in the Arab American community, those of the Hispanic American community. I know that like the Venezuelans are really, they're going through some shit right now because, some of them voted for Donald Trump and Donald Trump decided to, take away their temporary protected status and are shipping their asses off too. I need y'all to be aware. I need y'all to understand. They're like, yo, when it comes to this resistance shit, black people know a little bit. We know a thing or two. We've been here the longest in terms of fighting against this shit. You might do yourself a favor by listening to us instead of thinking that you know more than us. Instead of thinking that like your one issue trumps everything that we're fighting against at the moment. Because that's the one thing that black folks do. Like, we're not necessarily looking just out for we're not just necessarily looking out for just ourselves. Black folks look out for every fucking body. Affirmative action was to address racial discrimination. Guess who benefited from that the most? White women. They think that, like, if you're listening to this current administration right now, they talk about DEI. And DEI being the scourge of the nation. We want you to be hired on your merits. Okay, cool. We want to be hired on our merits as well. But we also understand that if we were just hired based on our merits and we don't have the relationships, then you're not looking for us to fucking begin with. Which is why the program was instituted to begin with. White women benefited for that. And yet 53% white women voted for Donald Trump, despite not only his, attack on their ability to go out and earn money for themselves, but also to, their, reducing the ability for them to have even control over their own bodies, depending on which fucking state they live in. Black people knew what was up, though. We always know what's up. We always know. And so, going forward, I'll say this, and I'm going to close with this. If you want black people behind you, a lot of y'all have a lot of repair work to do. And that involves showing up in the voting booth and voting in the ways in which is advantageous to not just yourselves, but in ways in which will benefit black people as well. Because again, we've told y'all, we've laid the blueprint on trying to make America live up to its promise of living up to what as Dr. Martin Luther King said, be true to what you said on paper. Because America has a lot of flowery words on paper. They ain't always been true to them. Black people have done the work to make sure that America was true to what they said on paper. Now, some of you decided, then, black people didn't know what the fuck they was talking about. And so y'all have allowed for, to some degree, a lot of those rights to be rolled back. So now we got to go back and do the work of fucking again because y'all was too selfish to listen. And make no mistake, like I said, there's no cheering section here for genocide. But we are no good to nobody else in the nation, nobody else in the world, if we can't be good at home. I can't go help anybody else if I'm fucked up my damn self. I can't give you a ride to work if I ain't got no car. I can't protect your house if I ain't got no weapons. So if you strip me of the things that I need in order for me to do my fucking job, how dare you look at me and act as though I failed in my job when I wasn't presented with the tools in order to do the job in the first fucking place? And so with that, I'm going to get on up out of here, man. I done talked enough. But of course, I had a couple more things, but I ain't talking about that shit. I'm tired. But of course, before we get on up out of here, I got to remind you guys how to get in touch with us over here, the Mr. Spann Official Podcast, and let your voice be heard. Go ahead and hit up that hotline at area code 313-288-0485. That's area code 313-288-0485. Leave those voicemail messages. Of course, those messages will get played here live on the show and responded to in kind. You can also listen, hit me up on our, hit me up on social media. Excuse me. Hit me up on social media. My name on Threads and Instagram is Mr._Spann. Go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. I am also on Bluesky. My name there is Mr. Spann, no underscore, MrSpann.bsky.social. Chop it up with your man Spann over there. I am on Fanbase. I am Mr._Spann on Fanbase. And I am also Mr. Spann on TikTok. Mr._Spann on TikTok. So go ahead and follow me there. Chop it up with your man Spann throughout the week. Also, man, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes and on Spotify. Those 5-star reviews are the ones that get right here live on the show. We really do appreciate everybody who does that. Doesn't cost you a dime, man. It's a couple minutes of your time to let everybody know why you're rocking with us over here at the Mr. Spann Official Podcast and the Spann Report Podcast Network in its entirety. And also, man, go to our store and copy yourself some merch, man. We really appreciate everybody who does that. That does cost you a couple dollars, but you get something tangible with it. Like I said, you get hats, you get athletic shirts, you get t-shirts, you get hoodies, you get coffee mugs, you get mouse pads, you get like little tote bags and stuff like that. And it has some of our graphics on it. And we really appreciate everybody who supports us in that way. It keeps us, it keeps our ability to keep this ball rolling, and we really do appreciate that in a really, really, really real way. But yeah, man, I am about to get on up out of here. I will talk to you guys again soon. But until next time, fam. Peace.